We don't look at the monthly statement.
Right.
We look at for the whole year or even more than that. We look at long term. If what we do can actually improve people's knowledge or people's behavior about electric scooter, and that's worth it.
This episode of the BloomX podcast is brought to you by NetWin Place. NetWin Place is a co-working office space based in Scarborough. Co-working is quickly taking the working world by storm. Entrepreneurs of all sorts can take advantage of the many benefits offered by co-working spaces. NetWin Place is focused on small businesses, entrepreneurs, professionals, and anyone else in between. Their 10,000 square foot shared office space is ready to help anyone make their business dream a reality. Okay, we're rolling. Richard from Roll, thank you for coming on the BloomX podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you have undoubtedly one of the coolest projects to come out of the hub because it's such a physical product, right? Roll,
Right.
the e-scooters, electric scooters. We took a demo ride of this a few weeks ago, and it is fun as fuck.
Yeah, it was. You would ride in it for like 40 minutes and refuse to get it off. So I can definitely tell.
Yeah, I asked you, I'm like, I want one of these, right?
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah.
But man, e-scooters, right? It's such a hot topic right now.
It's indeed a very hot topic right now, especially in Toronto.
Yeah.
You see the newspaper, a lot of people are talking about electric scooter. There are some other American companies are coming to Canada, especially also in Toronto. They're having pilots. It's been a hot topic, but not just for the reason, in Toronto it's for the reason once people start talking about electric scooters, but it actually has been around for like 1 or 2 years, already. So it started in America. So some American company, they started this sheer electric scooter thing in America, and it became really, really popular. And that is also the reason I got the idea of electric scooter. So it's actually a very interesting background of mine because my family in China is actually doing electric scooter manufacturing business. So there was one time I just finished my school. It was a summer holiday, right? So I came back to Toronto. Oh no, I came back to China, right? I visited my family, and I was working in the factory. And I saw a lot of electric scooters. And then I asked my dad, okay, so I think there's a lot of toys in factory. Who are the clients? Why are they purchasing a lot of electric scooters? And my dad told me it's actually for, actual commute. It's actually for actual transportation. So I have
So you
done.
thought they were originally toys?
I think they were toys because I never thought that people gonna use electric scooter for daily commutes. So I've done a lot of research on that. I found out it's actually a really popular thing in America, in Europe, and people are actually using it for daily commutes. I realized that it's actually a really good way to go around the town because it's electric, so you don't have to paddle, you don't have to walk for 8 blocks, so you can just ride on scooter. It saves your time, saves your effort, and also is very convenient. It's very convenient because it's dockless. So see, the bike share in Toronto, we have to find a bike from a station. Sometimes you have to walk for 5 minutes to get a bike, and then once you finish, you still have to return it to a dock, and then you have to find a dock that has an empty spot for you. So sometimes that is very tedious. It's not really convenient, but for dockless electric scooter, you can just park it anywhere you want.
Sorry, so let's explain what docking with dockless is.
Sure.
So a dockless system is, a dock system is, you have pretty much a rack.
A
that
rack.
You go put your scooter or your e-bike back into. A dockless system is you don't need a dock.
You don't need it. You don't need it. The way you do it is actually because we have mobile apps. So when you open your mobile apps, you can see where are the scooters. So you don't have to have a dock. You know where they are. And then it's also automatically locked by itself. So you can just park it by the roadside, and people, without unlocking it, people cannot use it. So that will make it work. So that is dockless. So that is the biggest thing. I think the biggest advantage of electric scooter. So and then that's how I got my idea basically. And then also I am an international student from China. When I spent my 4 years in Toronto here, I realized the transportation problem is huge,
Yep.
and nobody has ever solved it. So every time you go to downtown, is frustrating. It's frustrating. So if you need to go somewhere, you have to take the bus, and then you have to take the streetcar, and then you have to take the subway. You take multiple transfer, and then you have to
Yeah.
walk. It's tedious. So when now I got a demo here, right, in Toronto. Every time I go to Toronto downtown, I'll bring the demo. I would just ride it. It's much better than than driving, than taking Uber, or than taking the public transit. Is actually very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I can definitely see that. I mean, one of the major problems in Toronto is transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're the fourth largest, GTA in general, overall is the fourth largest city in North America.
Right.
And it has the worst transportation system, public transportation system.
Mm-hmm.
The trains don't connect that well. For a city of its size, it's really undeveloped transportation system.
No.
And when we first met, I mean, you explained it really well by
Mm-hmm.
talking about what you solve is the first mile and last mile problem.
Right.
How to get to public transport and
Mhm.
how to get from public transport to your route of your
Right.
end destination.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that a little better?
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, as you said, the biggest problem we're targeting is actually the first mile and last mile problem. You see, that is the problem of urban transportation, because in Scarborough, we don't need to worry about that. Everywhere you want to go, just drive a car, and then you're gonna get there. But in downtown Toronto, for example, most people will take public transit, because driving is impossible. Parking is horrible, so you
Yeah.
have to take public transit. For a lot of people who work in downtown every day, they have to take the subway to downtown, and then they have to take, a bus transfer or walk after the subway ride. That comes the last mile problem, because for the whole subway ride is really fast, it's okay, but then after you finish your subway ride, you either have to wait for 10-15 minutes for a streetcar, or you have to walk for 8 blocks to get to the place you want to go. So that is the last mile problem. For every transportation in urban area, the last mile is the most inefficient part of the journey. So if you have electric scooter, you don't have to wait. Once you get off your subway, you can just jump on the scooter, and then you can go to your company. And the good thing about dockless is that you can just leave it in front of the building, and you can finish your day. Start your day from there, and then yeah.
So let's talk about the dockless
Mhm.
component of it. I mean, this is one of the hottest contested part of
Sure.
e-scooters is, the littered waste almost.
Mhm.
If you see pictures out of California, New
Yeah.
York, I think,
Mhm.
New York a lot,
Yeah.
too, where these scooters are just left like
Mhm.
in bulk and just lying on a field
Mhm.
by the side of the road,
Mhm.
just kind of littered across the
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
Because what Lion and Bird did, like these
Mhm.
billion-dollar companies that got
Mhm.
funded, buy a bunch of scooters and just drop them everywhere.
Right.
And people just kind of used it and just leave it wherever they go.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a public nuisance.
Mhm.
The public don't like it. The cities kind of reject it. They're looking at it. It's like, okay, this is kind of a public issue.
Mhm.
And even now, as these scooters come to Toronto,
Mhm.
the issue is the same kind of issues come out of it,
For sure.
right? And you have an innovative way of solving this.
Right.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
For sure, yeah. And this is also, you mentioned a really good point, is this is the major problem of, we just mentioned the major problem of urban transportation. But when it comes to electric scooter, the major problem is what you said. One of them is parking. You mentioned parking. Those company, the exact reason is because the only incentive for them to, to operate is just capture their market share.
Yeah.
Right? So they just dump their scooter in the city, and they just leave them. And then how we solve that problem is we have a different kind of operation. So let me give you a little bit more information on how they operate. So for Lime, Burr, and all other major competitors in the market, they use something called crowdsourcing. So that means if you have the app of those companies, and then you can register as a operator, like an Uber driver, but you can be a scooter operator, right? You can go to the street, take the scooter, and then bring it back to the house to recharge them. In the morning, you can put them back in a certain area, follow the instruction on the mobile app. You're gonna get paid for $5 per scooter, something like that. So it's called crowdsourcing. Everybody can do the job. It's very easy way for the company to manage their fleet, for sure, but it also is not a really responsible way to manage your fleet, because those people, they don't care about your equipment. They don't care about where should I put the scooter, how should I treat the scooter, so that sometimes leads to a very poor management. So what we do is different. So we hire our own internal staff, and we give them the proper training. We have their own monitoring software on their everybody has that software, and then we can manage their performance and then see whether it is a good operation or not. And for parking, also we have other solutions. One of them is every scooter is GPS tracked. So if we identify that scooter is in the middle of the road, we're gonna know that. So we're gonna know that on the back-end dashboard. Something we do also very differently is we have something called emergency and patrol team. So when we first launch electric scooter in a city, we know that is the time where people get really confused. They don't know what is electric scooter. They're not really familiar with dockless, this idea. So sometimes they just, they don't know. After they use it, they leave it on the sidewalk, blocking the people, blocking the traffic, because they don't know. But what we have electric emergency and patrol team. So when we first launch, these people will go on the street and patrol around and give people the instruction they need and tell them that you should park it right. So what we trying to do is we want to provide enough education as possible to the public, so they know how do I use this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that must be an expensive operation for you to especially for your initial launch.
Right.
Is to take the time to improve the learning curve.
Right.
For the initial users.
For sure. That's actually a very costly thing to do. You have to hire people to do that, but we think that is worth it because we don't think about it, just look at the monthly statement. We don't look at the monthly statement.
Right.
We look at for their whole year or even more than that. We look at long term. If what we do can actually improve people's knowledge or people's behavior about electric scooter, and that's worth it, because that will change people's perception about electric scooter. That is more sustainable way of doing the business. This is what I think. Yeah.
But I also wanted to highlight, so when you went your dockless solution for dockless, I guess drop-off of the scooter.
Sure.
Is you want to have a system on your application where you take a picture of the scooter when it's been left behind,
right?
And the app actually approves if that's been left behind properly.
Right.
What is a proper drop-off for a scooter? What does that look like?
Right. So, yes. So in order to park the scooter, you have to take a picture, and our staff on the end, on the back is gonna identify if that's a wrong or a right park. If it's a wrong one, they're gonna call you. So that's how we solve the problem. We're gonna, we're probably gonna send you an email notification, and then next time you're gonna know how to do it. So the proper way to do it is actually you have to park it on the sidewalk, not on the road. You have to park it on the sidewalk, but you have to make sure that it's close to the road, close to the curb, and then not blocking the traffic, not blocking the fire routes or any kind of entrance. For all those information, we will have that on our app. So before you unlock a scooter, we will show you a video of the tutorial, so you know what exactly you should do. Okay. And then we also talk about education, right? Other than the patrol team, also we will have educational events, offline events when we first launch in the city. So that's also something that we're doing to trying to improve that education. Yeah. It's actually not that hard. It sounds like, okay, I have to imagine how to do this. But once more people are using electric scooter, people are gonna observe, and they're gonna learn from that. So it's actually not that hard.
Okay, it's amazing. Let's talk about the specs of the scooter, right?
Sure.
Because this is very different from traditional scooters.
For
I
sure.
know you made the wheel a little bit bigger.
Right,
You had
right.
manufactured.
Yeah, so the major improvement that I've done on the scooter is actually, so one of them, as you can see, the whole scooter is actually bigger
Yeah.
and thicker and tougher.
Yeah.
So you can feel it.
It looks
And
very tough.
it looks tough. It actually feels tough. So
Yeah.
when you ride it, it feels like it's more stable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't just the frame. It's not just the frame, but also you mentioned the wheels. Normally, a stand-up scooter, they use 8-inch or 8.5-inch of wheels, but we use 10-inch wheels. Also, we improve the performance on the tires, so it absorbs the shock even better. And also, we have a front wheel suspension there, so that will make you handle the uneven surfaces even better. We have the double brake system, and this is also exclusive to Roll. So when you press the brake, it will have mechanical and electric brake at the same time. So double safety. Yeah, that's also very important thing is on the base, because remember, a lot of people they used to ride those mechanical little scooter, mechanical scooter when they're children, right? And then for those scooter, you have to put one foot at the front,
Yeah.
one foot at the back for the brake, right? That is not really stable, right? So what we do is we actually made the base a little bit wider, so you can actually comfortably set
Stand
2 foot,
together?
yeah, stand straight, 2 foot at the same direction. So that's something we do. So all the product design and operation, how we design, how we made the decisions, all around safety. How can we improve the safety? That's always our guideline. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, you took a lot of consideration
Mhm.
into that factor. And were you able to do that because your family has a factory back home?
Definitely.
And they helped out with that?
Definitely. A
specifications,
lot
yeah.
of free services from my dad. So
Yeah.
that I would say thank you. Shout out to my dad. That's definitely something that we feel that is our competitive advantage, because not just having the factory, but having that know-how knowledge is critical. It's
Definitely.
critical, because sometimes we think that a lot of company they know what they want,
Yeah.
but a lot of message is lost in that communication between their suppliers and their vendor. And we have the ability to have a really good communication, and we have the ability to get what we want, because we have the R&D team behind us to support us. So when we say we want to make it tougher, we want to make it more stronger, that's okay. But that will come to a problem. For
Yeah.
example, it's going to be a lot heavier, very, very heavy. How do you solve that problem? You have to, have some kind of special design on the frame, on the base, to make it tough, but also lighter.
Yeah.
So that takes knowledge, that takes experience. So definitely that helps a lot. Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. You mentioned that a single charge, you can drive
Mhm.
about 60 kilometers. on one of
60
these?
kilometers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
Mhm.
good range.
Good range.
So let's talk about that. Like, how fast can they go?
So they can go as fast about like 40, 50 kilometers per hour, but we have speed limit, so don't worry.
You have a limit to put it.
Yeah, so according to our research, we think for a normal city street, it's better to set a speed limit between 20 to 24 kilometers per hour. And for different city, we have different regulation.
Yeah.
For example, in Kelowna, we set the speed limit as 24 kilometers per hour,
Okay.
whereas in other places, we set it as 20. And we're about to start a good news. I haven't shared it with you. We're
Okay.
about to start a
Let's make some news, okay?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
a new pilot with Toronto Zoo.
Toronto Zoo?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay.
Amazing. So it's not gonna
So
be.
these roll scooters are going to be in the Toronto Zoo?
They're gonna be in Toronto Zoo for
Amazing.
2 weekends, so
Okay.
people can try, and they can do a tour around the
Which weekends do you know yet?
we haven't confirmed the dates, but it's gonna release. We're gonna announce really soon.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're really excited about this
Yeah.
because we're a Toronto-based company. We can finally get some scooter on the ground of Toronto. So that's amazing.
I mean, you got the pilots to do it in Kelowna,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got accepted at Kelowna and Calgary,
Right. For
right?
sure. Mhm.
And not anything in Ontario.
Not yet. Not
Well,
yet.
Toronto Zoo now.
Toronto Zoo. Toronto Zoo
Toronto
is
Zoo.
one of them. Yeah. Toronto Zoo is one of them.
That's amazing. So, how's the process, right? To roll out these e-scooters, you have to go through almost an RFD process with the cities,
Mm-hmm.
with municipalities. Is that right?
That's correct. But even we have to do more ahead of that. So RFP is at the at the very end of the process, because you have to convince the regulators, convince the government that this is something you want, because it's actually going to solve people's problem of urban transportation. It's been an issue for many people, and people want this, and you have to convince them, and that convince is not really easy. Sometimes, of course, they have to take their own responsibility. They have to evaluate it. It's a new thing. They have never heard of it. So you have to provide a lot of, communication for sure, but also you're going to provide a lot of data and report to them to convince that this is okay. We should try this. And we are flexible to help you to set the regulation. So something like that. And then once that communication comes to a common ground, we all agree to the terms, and then we're gonna go through a RFP and then have the pilot. Yep.
That's amazing. I mean, it seems quite like a laborious journey
For sure.
to do that, but it makes sense for a project like this where it involves so many moving parts, so many people. Like they always say, like hardware companies are so hard to launch. Do you agree? Like, do you find what are the challenges been in launching Roll?
It's very, very challenging. Remember when we first met in the hub, we had no crew. We know we can get a really good product, and we were working on our software. We were working very, very hard on the software, trying to make it work, come up with a prototype first, and then the next biggest challenge is actually finding the pilot, finding a right partner who is willing to work with us to have the pilot, and we have tried so many things, and then we have talked to a lot of people, and it was all dead end. So that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, actually. So we tried to talk to school.
Sorry.
We talked to school. We
Talk to
tried
schools, yeah.
talk to school about having the pilot. So we tried to talk to University of Toronto, Scarborough campus, Mississauga, or other campuses. We also tried to talk to other universities and colleges about having the pilot on the campus, because we know that a lot of people they are struggling to run from one class to the other class in 10 minutes. Sometimes it's a big campus. It takes a lot of time. And then if they have electric scooter, that would solve the problem. So we thought that that's something that you want to do. I provide it to you and at no cost. How about that? And they say, that's okay, but I have to think about it. So for everything that is really, really new, that is disrupted, then people sometimes they don't want to take the first step. They will ask you, is there any other university doing this? If there's any other university doing this, I might think about it. But if no, then I would say I'll pass for now. So that's the feedback we got at the very early stage.
Yeah, man. I found that universities are very highly bureaucratic. I mean, there's so many blocks to get through.
Right.
To get through them, like, I mean, it's almost worse than dealing with the government, because they're both have the same checkpoints as the government would, and more like the private sector would.
I know. I can definitely feel that. So that's something that I learned from this journey. I feel like one of the things that I take away from that experience is you have to talk to the right person. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I know, I found this guy. This guy is the guy. I have to talk to this guy. I'm probably gonna get the deal. But no. You're talking to the wrong guy. You have to do enough research to know who are you talking to. Is this person the decision maker? Is the person have that influence on your project? So if you find the right person, it becomes easy. Because if he says no, then bye-bye. If he says yes, okay, let's have more meetings and talk about it. So that is something that I learned. I agree to you. Sometimes talking to university and the colleges is not that easy. It's not that easy. Definitely. But also, big shout out to University of Toronto, because now we actually, they're very, very supported. They're very, very supported. They give us a lot of advice. They actually review our proposal for a school pilot in University of Toronto. And now, because the city right now is having their, their regulation changes. They're trying to open that door for electric scooters. So probably maybe we're gonna bring that back to life. So
Awesome.
so hopefully so.
That's great.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we need to see, I think, more of a collaborative environment for people who want to test new ideas,
Right.
right? I mean, there's so much problems to be solved in society that like
Mm-hmm.
there can be additional roadblocks
Mm-hmm.
for people who want to go out and solve them. We need to
Mhm.
enable people more. And I mean, that's one of the appreciative journeys I've seen with you
Mm-hmm.
is all the different things. I mean, you have this great product, you have the supply,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know the demand's out there, but
For sure.
you keep having to run and overcome all these hurdles
Mm-hmm.
to even get to just connecting the supply to the
Mhm.
demand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a frustrating process. I mean, seeing what could be, the
Mhm.
potential,
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to connect it
Right.
fast enough. And I mean, kudos to you for operating as you have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, again, you have now the city of Calgary saying, yeah, we can launch there.
Right.
Kelowna saying you can launch there. Now,
Yep.
Toronto Zoo.
Toronto Zoo, and we are also in a very close communication with Edmonton. I think we are about to get that permit.
That's amazing.
Sure.
So what's next for you? What do the next few months look for role?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, right, we're gonna start our first operation in Kelowna
Yeah.
in October, so that will be very soon. So we're gonna finish for the next few months. We're gonna focus on Kelowna. I'm gonna move to Kelowna,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
so actually to trying to make sure everything's correct, because a lot of things right now we have is all planning, but how to execute that plan takes more effort, and then we have to make sure that everything goes with the plan, and then we got really good. Also, we want to get really good feedback from the customer, so we know how to improve on our product, improve our operation, and software and other stuff. So that's that. And then for the next year, we're probably gonna focus on Canada, all the major cities, because we got the permit from Edmonton, Calgary. Also, we're looking at Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver. Those big cities, they are also having this discussion about electric scooter. So we believe that in the next year, we're probably gonna have more pilot programs in Canada. Yeah, so that's the plan. So the plan is to go to more cities.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Expansion now.
Expansion.
Yeah, expansion stage.
Mhm.
That's great. So one of the things that I appreciate you discussing with me
Mhm.
is your concerns over safety.
For sure.
So I mean, these are so new that
Mm.
there's no real statistics on how the road usage of scooters are.
Mhm.
You mentioned the speed, about how
Mhm.
you guys are limiting the speed,
Mhm.
because I mean, these things can go pretty fast.
Mhm.
I mean, going 40, 50 kilometers an hour
Right.
on a device that's it's just like a quick slab of metal
Mhm.
where you're freestanding. I mean, that's pretty dangerous.
For sure. Mhm.
How's it looking right now in the marketplace? Like, how are e-scooters rated safety-wise? What's being done to regulate that? Is there been fatalities, casualties?
Hmm. So as I said, right, it has been around 1 to 2 years in America. So we actually got a lot of good data from that. So there's actually some reports and research have done on the topic of electric scooter injuries, or even serious injuries, fatality, that all happened.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that it is a means of transportation. So for every means of transportation, there is risk of serious injuries and even fatality. But when you compare the data, it's actually pretty similar to riding a bicycle. And in some cities, it's actually a little bit safer than riding a bicycle. But then right now, the major concern about safety from my eyes is actually the helmet use.
Yeah.
Because from our research, 45% of the injury can be prevented simply by wearing the helmet. And there's less than 1% of people actually wearing the helmet.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, because it's so crucial that it's gonna save your life, but you don't wear it. Even though people send you one, you don't wear it. So I think there's a lot have to be done on the education side, and from the perspective of the company, we provide helmets as much as possible. So so helmet use is one of the very crucial things. But when you compare the data, it's pretty similar to riding a bicycle. Yeah. So another big thing I think we should have to improve on the electric scooter safety is actually infrastructures, because we recommend people to ride a scooter on bike lanes. But when you look at the downtown Toronto, there are not too many bike lanes. So if we have more bike lanes, it is if our city is more bicycle, electric scooter friendly, that will also hugely increase the safety of electric scooter. Yeah.
Yeah. So to give designated spots for people to ride in. Let's go back to the helmet issue.
Sure.
How do you seek to provide helmets for people, your riders? I can see that being a cost issue as well. Being able to have that inventory and just access. Are people going to be buying these helmets from you, or is it a rental product? How would that work?
So right now we want to provide for when we first launch in the city, we know that people need some education. So we just gonna give the helmet for free. Of course, that's a cost to the company, but I think that's worth it. You know, we put that under education, right? So, so that is the education expense. So at first, but we cannot provide as many as possible, you know, just give it away. That's a huge cost to the company. So we have done several things. One of them is that if you register an account with Roll and you prepay for your fee, for example, $100, I'm gonna send you a helmet for free. Because when you are prepaying, you save the transactional fees for the company. And I, as the company, I am willing to use that saved cost to buy the helmet for you. So you think that no matter what, I'm gonna use the scooter, why don't I just prepay for it and then I can get a free helmet? That's good for you. For me, that's also good for me because that will cover the cost for the helmet. So something like that, trying to find a win-win situation for both customers and company and make it sustainable for the helmet distribution, make it sustainable. Also, we're talking to a lot of companies to find that right partnership, if that's gonna decrease that cost, and that's one of the things. Second of the things is that we identify a lot of people, they don't want to use helmet because they don't want to carry it.
Yeah.
You know, when you put it in the...
Yeah, it's the biggest problem.
Yeah, it's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And then, but, you know, there's actually a lot of startups right now are doing those kind of
Compact,
foldable helmets. So we are actually in a very close discussion with some companies who are willing to have a partnership with us. So in the future, we will have something is very thin, is foldable, but still is very durable, is very safe, something like that. So we can give away to our customers. They can put it in their backpack. They can put it in their, their bags, and they can carry it with their during their daily commute. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is being able to enhance safety by making things more accessible.
Accessible for sure.
Right.
And you know what? You have to make it cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like 80% of the people don't wear a helmet because they think, oh, it's not cool.
Yeah.
So we have to make it cool.
Definitely. Okay, let's walk through the use case, right? Like,
sure.
So let's say Roll has 50 to 200 scooters
for sure
in my area. I look up on the app. And I can see a pinpoint of all the scooters available.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. How do I know what happens if it's lower charge?
Oh yeah, so on the app, you can actually, when you click on a scooter, you can actually see, not even click on scooter, we have done that improvement. So now on the app, when you see all the surrounding scooters.
I'm just gonna bring up the website.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the yellow, just makes everything just pop out.
Yeah, it's very bright, eh? So as you can see, right, we only have one scooter there on the map, but when you see all the surrounding scooter, you're gonna see the charge level on that scooter. So you're gonna make sure that you're going to the 100% charge, not the 20% charge. Yep.
Okay.
So
you see charge level on it.
You're gonna see the charge level on it, and by clicking on it, you can also see how far you can go. What's the range for it? So you don't get anxious about that.
Yep.
And then, so following that, so now you found a scooter. Now, when you click on it, it shows you a walking path to that scooter. So you know how to get to that scooter. And then once you get to the scooter, simply just press scan, and then you can scan the QR code on top of the scooter, and then the scooter will unlock. If that is your first time, it will show you a very detailed video tutorial to show you how to use the scooter, all the safety aspect of the scooter, right? How do you use the brake? How do you use the belt? where should you ride, you should be over 18 of age, you should wear a helmet, all of those stuff. And then you can start your riding. And then once you finish your ride, you can park it. When you park it, you have to take a picture to make sure that you're parking in the right area. Or we're gonna go after you. No, we're gonna send you an email to let you know, do better next time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then all the charge is gonna based on the time you ride it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, normally we charge about $1 to start,
Yeah.
to unlock the scooter, and about 20 to 30 cents per minute for the ride. It's gonna charge through your credit card. So it's very simple.
So sorry, you said $1 to start it,
Yeah, so that would be a flat fee for unlocking the scooter
and then per kilometer you pay
per minute.
per minute.
Yeah, 20 cents to 30 cents per minute.
20 cents,
Yeah.
30 cents a minute.
Mm.
Okay. And so let's say I grab a scooter, log on the app, find a scooter, walk up to it, I scan it, it unlocks, jump on, and start driving towards the subway. Right? I drive for about, say, 10 minutes. I get charged 20 cents to 30 cents per minute.
So yeah, so for a 10 minutes ride, it's about cost you about $3, $4, something like that.
Okay, $3, $4, and there I get a subway. I then go towards the curbside, drop the scooter off, park the scooter, take a picture of it, and I get approved right away. Saying that
you get approved right away. So once you take the pictures, we're gonna allow you to lock the scooter right away. But our staff in the back end, later on, they're gonna look at your picture, and if there's something wrong, we're gonna react. We have the emergency and patrol team, right? If something is really serious, for example, it's in the tree, or is in the river or something like that. So our internal staff, they will go there immediately to react. But if it's not a major problem, we're gonna send you a email to tell you what's wrong with it, and maybe you should improve on the second time. If we identify there's some people never park it right, then we have to suspend that customer, or sometimes if there is something serious consequence, we have to fine them. Yeah,
you have to find them.
we have to fine them. Yeah.
Okay, and it's because they had a credit card on file.
Yeah, and also in our user agreement, yeah, we will be able to do that. Yeah.
So let's talk about like damage. Right?
Sure.
Like, just random acts of hooliganism, right? People just want to, just pick this up and throw it somewhere, or just damage it, or try to attack it. What's your plan in that sense?
Yeah. So it's never avoidable.
Yeah.
For anything for public use, it's never avoidable. But we're trying a lot of things to make it less cost to the company. So one of them is the product itself. We have to make it very durable to make it suitable to a sheer environment. So so when we designed the product, we actually looked at a lot of our competitors and how their products got damaged, right?
Yeah.
What are the problems? And then we improve on that. That's one of the things. Second is that we have that sensor inside of the scooter. So when people, without unlocking it, if people are, tampering and playing with it, and then, trying to damage it, we will receive that information. And if we identify there's a lot of movement on the scooter, because we know that a lot of people are, trying to do that, so it will play an alert, so the people who is trying to damage the scooter will get that alert.
So the damage or trying to be moved away without being unlocked, it'll just beep.
Beep, yeah.
The alarm system.
Alarm system, something like that, yeah.
Definitely. You also mentioned, so we also talked about this, right? North America we have winter. We have pretty harsh winters.
For sure.
This is not a winterized solution. You can't work in winter?
No. For this current model, we're not planning to have it on, to operate it on winter, because we know that it's not really safe for the customer to ride it on winter, let's be honest. And I don't think people are gonna use it a lot in the winter time, because there's the weather outside is not really suitable even for riding bicycle. People don't ride bicycles during the winter time. So yeah, definitely in Canada, at least we face that seasonality problem for the business.
Yep.
But when you look at the cost structure of this business, the biggest cost is actually operational cost. So during the winter time, the only cost that's gonna occur is gonna be the storage, warehousing, and that would take a very, very small percentage of the as a whole cost. So that is not really a big concern to us. But we are also trying very hard to work with our engineer to trying to come up with a solution for winter use. Because we know that even though it's the winter, we cannot use electric scooter, but the problem is still there. The problem is still there, and the problem is worse. So that is something. So we should come up maybe a different vehicle, maybe a different kind of vehicle, motorized or electric vehicle. Something is as convenient as electric scooter, but it's suitable for winter time and within road condition.
I just imagine like a mini, like a
four-wheel,
yeah,
something like that. So yeah, we are in close discussion with the engineers. We haven't been able to,
that'd be interesting.
Bring that, but hopefully in the future we can be able to bring that to life. Yeah.
So, you guys are also doing e-bikes as well?
E-bike, definitely, yeah. So in Kelowna, we will have 200 units of electric scooter and 50 units of electric bike. So because we know that even though in our point of view, we think that electric bike,
Do you have a showing of how the electric bike looks like?
Sure, yeah. If you go to press, click on that, go down. It's just gonna load the picture. Oh, so go to the second second article. Click on that.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The first picture. This is the bike.
Nice.
Yeah.
That looks cool too.
Yep. So it's the color, it's the color. So it's a yellow color, very bright, and So look at the bike. It's pretty similar.
So I noticed that it still has the pedals, so you can still pedal it.
It's still pedal. So what we call it is we call it electric assist bike. So it's not fully electrical bike. So you still have to pedal, but when you pedal, when you reach certain speed, you're gonna feel the motor is running. So you feel you're gonna take less effort, and especially when you're riding up hills. Okay. It's gonna be amazing.
Nice.
It's gonna be amazing.
That's great. Like, do you have any specs on these, like how they work?
Sure.
What's the range?
Range is gonna be even longer than this.
Yeah.
Even longer.
Bigger battery.
A bigger battery, and then other things for the other aspect of the bike is pretty similar to electric scooter. So it's gonna be the same. How they work is gonna be the same style. So you have to scan the code to unlock it, and when you go to somewhere, finish your ride, you park it by the roadside. So this is pretty similar, but we think that for a lot of people, at least right now, they're not that open to electric scooter, and then electric bike could be something that they can be really comfortable with. Yeah. They can try electric bike first, and then maybe eventually they will move on to electric scooter, because in our eyes we believe that electric scooter is something more for a urban environment. Yeah. Because a lot of people that are wearing suit, they're wearing skirt, they can't really ride a bike, and riding a bike still have to pedal. Yeah. All right. So that would take your effort, and it's not really suitable for the urban citizens. So electric scooter is a better way of transport, but we think that electric bike is also has its own advantage, right? It's more easy for people to adopt, and also is for longer range. So riding an electric scooter, you ride it for 10-15 minutes. That's normally what people ride it for. And then for electric bike, you can ride it for half an hour, right? For longer range and a longer distance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can see that. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's going to be a different use case, definitely. Mm-hmm. Between the two, but I think the biggest problem with the scooters is that it's still seen as a toy component. For sure. Yeah. People equate scooters what like kids play with. Yeah. And they think about like, okay, I'm using this as like a serious transportation tool. Mm-hmm. You see, it's more of a gimmick or a fun tool than an actual utility. Mm-hmm. Right? I think it's going to come from actual people using it. Yeah. Like you said, and they get used to it. I mean, what's the feedback been like? I know you've done a few demos. You took it to a few places, let people drive it. Yep. What have people thought?
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So I brought it to a lot of people, especially a lot of people, a lot of regulators, and those officers, when they first saw this electric scooter, and I would say, so let's start with riding.
Yeah.
Let's ride it first, and then we're gonna talk about the
Best thing. Yeah.
the actual turns.
Mhm.
And they said, no, I'm too old, or I'm not really comfortable with it. They say a lot of excuses, and I will force them. I will force them. So come on, it's okay. I'll teach you. It's
Yeah.
very easy. It takes 2 minutes to learn it. And then when they try it, they feel like, oh, this is actually okay. This is not that scary, and this is actually fun. And a lot of people, they say they don't want to try. They don't want to try it. But when they tried it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they refuse to get it off, just like you.
Just like me. Yeah, I got on and I wouldn't give it back.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So people, you mentioned it's the perception, right? It's the perception. People perceive as a tool, as a toy. So people normally don't take it seriously, but once they get on it, they feel like, oh, this is actually, I can see the use of it. I can know how is it gonna be useful for the people. So that's the most interesting feedback I got from those people. And then also I brought it to the street of Toronto. I asked people around, and how do you feel about this? You want to try it, and how do you feel? And most people, they before they try it, they don't really know. They don't really know. So they can't really tell you anything. But after they try it, it's the same thing. They feel like, oh, I can use it for daily commute. I can use it for my catching my classes. And so that's the feedback I got, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. From your feedback, who do you think is going to be your typical user? What's their characteristics? What's their profile?
Mm-hmm. So right now, we think 3 kinds of people will be our typical user, or the most frequent users. One of them is, we mentioned, university college students, because they have to travel from class to class, and then they have to catch classes. So that would be very useful for them. And the second one is the urban daily commuters. They have to use public transit, use it a lot, and then they face the last mile problem. So second. And third is gonna be tourists, because when they come to the city, they want to go around, see around. They don't have destination. If they take bus in the middle of the bus. They say, oh, we have to get off on this stop because we want to see this museum, whatever. It's not really convenient for them. But riding an electric scooter, they can just ride around and see around. So that will be really useful for them. So those 3 kinds of people are going to be our typical users. Yeah.
Great. And now that you're launched this product, what's your go-to-market? Like, how does that look like? How do you get the first initial people using this? Yeah.
So for electric scooter, this is very strange. This is very interesting. For most tech startup, if you're creating an app, you have to spend a lot of time and effort and money on marketing to get that first batch of users. But for electric scooter, it's a totally different story. All you have to do is just go there, and then the media will come, and then they will. Oh, can I do an interview on you? And can I write an article on that matter? So we're gonna receive a lot of media exposure when we launch. So we don't have to promote it. The biggest thing that we have to do is for education. We have to tell people how to properly use it. So we're gonna have some educational events, some launch events. That's one of the things. Also, we have something called referral code. So existing users, they can refer a friend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then both of them can get a free ride, free unlock, something like
awesome.
that.
Yeah, great. And the software is already ready to launch. Everything's good to go.
They're already ready, but I'm very picky. So right now I'm also, I trying to crash it. Right now it's getting harder, but still, right, we have to do some improvement on that. But I would say 99% is already 99% ready. We have to just do some fine tune on that app.
Cool. I mean, this is exciting. This is one of the projects I'm definitely looking forward to having, because I can definitely see myself using this.
Sure.
I mean, this whole summer, me and Henry have been jumping around to all these tech events.
Sure.
and it's always been an issue with parking and getting around. I mean, this,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
jumping on a subway or a train
Mm-hmm.
or a train car,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get between events, it's not gonna happen.
Nah.
I mean, we generally try to plan things, events that happen
Very
on the same
closely.
kind of close together.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, especially in the summertime, you can definitely see yourself like zipping around downtown,
Mm-hmm.
going to meetups, going to events, going
Mm.
to things. I mean, it can be seen as very useful.
For sure. And right now, especially right now, I don't worry about the demand because right now, if you go to downtown, you see a lot of people actually bought their own scooters.
Yeah.
They're using it right now. When I come here today, actually, I saw one guy in the
Yeah.
parking lot riding an e-scooter. So I
Really?
feel like for sure this is gonna work because people are already spending $100,
Yeah.
buying those things online.
I mean, one of the things that really gets me is like how long these have been in the been around for e-scooters.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like 10, 15 years ago at Canada's Wonderland,
Uh-huh.
they give e-scooters as prizes.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, I mean, I remember my uncle won one, and I'm like, damn, I want one, right? I was like 15 at the time,
Sure.
and I remember seeing e-scooters for the first time then.
Mhm.
That's my first interaction with them.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, of course, they've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more sturdy, a lot more safer, a lot more mileage, I'm assuming. The capability to hold charges.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I see this definitely is useful. I definitely wish you guys the best because I want to use this.
Thank you so much.
What else is next for you guys? Like anything else you want to give a shout out to or talk about in general?
I want to give a shout out to you, man. Like, right when I told you, right, I had no clue. Give us a lot of good advice. You take us to a lot of places, meet a lot of people. So that's really, really helpful. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
And this is amazing. So even though we haven't made it, but right now we got some good progresses. You know, this is a really rewarding
Yeah.
period of the time. You know, we put in a lot of effort, but right now we taste the sweetness of rewarding. You know, so that's really good. That's really good. And for the future, what we believe is is people they're gonna move from personal owned vehicles to shared mobility. So when I say shared mobility, it's not just gonna be electric scooter or electric bike. Maybe in the future there's gonna be something else. Maybe share share cars. Now we already have share car, but it's not the majority of how people transport. But I see that will be the mainstream of the
So
future.
what's your vision here? Like, what do you see? How does the future look like?
The future, in my eyes, I always imagined in the future of the city streets, there's no personal owned vehicles, no people, nobody is driving. Nobody's driving. So it will be a more bicycle, electric scooter friendly city. So you're gonna have a bigger sidewalk or a bigger bike lanes, and that will take the most space of the road. And then other than that, we're gonna have autonomous driving vehicles. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. In 5, 10 years, for sure, it's gonna be a really normal things for people's daily life. People just take that, autonomous Uber. They just take that and they don't have to drive the car. So that would solve the issue of parking.
Yeah.
So when there's no parking lot, there's more space for buildings. So there's more space for roads. So that will further reduce that traffic pressure on city. So that's the future I'm looking at. That's the future I'm looking at. So I believe that eventually people will move on to shared mobility. In fact, if you look at a lot of data right now, there are more people don't have driver's license in some country. They don't want to drive a car.
Yeah.
They don't want to drive a car. And there are more people, especially in North America, they are moved to big cities. Young people, they want to live in New York. They want to live in LA. They want to live in Toronto. And in that kind of urban area, they can't really own a car. Yeah. So I think, all the culture shift, all the people's awareness on environment, and all the technology improvement, that will eventually lead to a future with no personal owned vehicles. So I mean, electric scooters. So that's the reason why I want to do electric scooters.
Yeah,
So
you see
so
it's being part of the future.
I see electric scooter will be the part of the future.
Yeah.
And we never define road technology as a company as a electric scooter company. We define it as a shared mobility company.
Okay.
So we have ambition. You know, in the future, we are thinking about other stuff, other stuff.
Yeah, so how to capitalize more in the larger market space in the shared mobility kind of realm. I mean, this is something I think about a lot too. I mean, it's kind of scary to think about a future where people don't own any assets themselves, where they use rent, pay per use. I mean, this has been always been like the scary part of capitalism, where you don't own anything, but you're plugged into a system where everybody,
It
like
depends
people
on
with
that.
capital owns people with capital own everything, and you're continuously having to pay for every little thing you use in life. I mean, that's kind of the issue, right? Like if there's many different categories of offerings, product offerings in the shared mobility. I mean, if you want to use scooter this company, if you want to use e-bike this company, if you want to use a shared car this company, that company, right? Do you see like any kind of vertical integration, like one company coming and being like, okay, get off the subway, get on a scooter, go here, get a car, you know, like it all blends together into one kind of shared experience? Or do you see a multitude of different companies coming in and offering and competing for the market space?
Well, I don't know. In the future, I don't know how it's going to look like. But right now, I think we want competition. Competition is going to be better. Because with competition, there's going to be a better service, right? We don't want a monopoly company to dominate the market, and only that company can provide the service. So that will not lead to a better service. You know, we want competition. And I mean, people, I know a lot of people, they are very scared about, you know, in the future that everything is rental. But the thing is that if it's shared, that means it increases the efficiency of that asset, right? If you own the vehicles, you only drive it for 2 hours a day, and for the rest of 22 hours, it's sitting in the parking lot. That is a waste of resources, right? So if you have is shared, then there are more people going to use the asset. It's better. It's more efficient. It's just that we have to find that, you know, fine line about who they want. You want a bunch of company provide the service to make your life better, and not not make you depend on them, right? So that's something that, you know, when we look at the future, that's always the case. We got very excited about the future, but sometimes we got very scared. But that is the future. That is the future.
Have you heard of anything called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization? A DAO.
No.
So it's a new type of corporation or entity that's becoming a thing because of technology. It's more theoretical right now. No one's really actually launched one. But a decentralized autonomous organization is a company that is owned by everybody and by no central authority.
For sure.
But also autonomous means most of the management is automated. And it runs as an automated agency. So everybody kind of co-owns it and profits from it. So everybody owns like a share or a multitude of shares and are part of the decision-making process. And most of the management of it is automated. And one of the key components they see is for the mobility space, where when you have autonomous vehicles and you have rideshare components like this, all kind of plugged in to this larger decentralized organization, where the revenue share is kind of shared within a larger community. That all goes into better perfecting the technology, better perfecting the utility and the actual use cases. But at the same time, everybody kind of owns a little bit of it. It's one of the interesting use cases for definitely this space, because the power of automation to suck out capital from a system is prevalent. So the problem is when cars can be completely autonomous and people aren't buying cars, well, can Uber or a large company start owning all the cars and set the market trends? This is a way to combat that, where everybody kind of co-owns the asset and the technologies behind it. It's very interesting to think about.
But the thing is that okay, so that corporation, how's the decision-making process going to go? Is it going to be,
challenge.
Do we have to give that power to technology? That would be another debate on that, right? Should we give that decision-making power, leave them to the people, or should we leave them to the technology.
Yeah.
When we say automatic decision making, is it going to be an AI program that behind us and making all the decision for us?
Yeah, I think
So
it's an interesting.
yeah.
It's a completely interesting kind of point of view. It depends on, I think, how you launch a company like that. The first DAO ever launched, I think, was hacked and like taken apart because they went completely decentralized.
For sure.
Right? They decentralized them, and everybody kind of owned it, and because of that, there's a security flaw. Someone took advantage of that. But I think I think the way you launch it, the way it all kind of comes together, all defines, and if it's viable or not. So yeah.
Good.
But yeah, I mean,
Very
it's
interesting.
interesting thing to think about.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Richard, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you
Let's
so
wrap
much.
up. This has been great. I mean, it's been great to thank you for bringing your demo unit as well. I'm definitely going to take it out and start to spin right now as well
For sure.
because it's here.
Okay.
Let's do it, man. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, boys.